According to TV star Lee Majors, people used to refer to him and ex-wife Farrah Fawcett as the Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie of their time. And like that more recent celebrity pairing, the marriage between Lee and Farrah didn't work out. Join Facts Verse as Lee Majors confirms the sad reason for his divorce from Farrah Fawcett. Today, Lee Majors is an actor most fondly remembered for his work on the seminal action series The $6 Million Man. At the time the series came onto the air, Lee had already found a modicum of success on TV, but his work on this series rocketed him into the stratosphere. Given how much the show ended up meaning for Lee's career, it may surprise many fans to learn that the actor was initially hesitant to play the part. When Lee expressed his distaste for the concept of the $6 Million Man, his words didn't fall on deaf ears. The concept of the show was tweaked considerably thanks to Lee's creative input. There were a few stipulations that Lee had when it came to joining the cast. For one thing, Lee didn't like how much emphasis was being put on the main character's bionic abilities. At the time Lee was offered the part, the show was going by the working title, Cyborg. That lack of humanity wasn't appealing to him. He requested the character be more human, and the show's name was changed to The $6 Million Man. The title and the titular character's lack of humanity weren't the only problems Lee Majors had with the original concept. The show was largely influenced by the 1960s Batman series, which was incredibly campy. Lee was hesitant to join a series with a similarly campy tone, but he was promised that the show would be a good deal more serious than its comic book predecessor. Before the series proper came on air, The $6 Million Man got its start via a pair of made-for-TV features. The second of these included a theme song performed by Dusty Springfield. The $6 Million Man was a huge success. The Dusty Springfield theme song, recorded for The $6 Million Man, was similar in tone to the opening credit songs being used in James Bond features. This was another aspect of the show that Lee Majors found a little cheesy. Thankfully, after the two made-for-TV features were successful enough to warrant a series, Lee was able to convince those involved to get rid of the cheesy theme song. Another stipulation he had was that he didn't want the show to feature bad guys dying. Instead, he simply beats them up. The $6 Million Man became a major success, and it was obvious Lee deserved a fair amount of the credit. Not only was Lee the perfect actor to portray the titular character, but the creative control he had in regards to the show's concept paid off immensely. Without his creative input, the show arguably wouldn't have struck a chord with audiences in the way it did. 2 years into the show's 5-season run, Majors came up with another stipulation. He thought it was time to shake things up. His character had yet to have a love interest on the show, and Lee thought this was a shame. An actress named Lindsay Wagner was hired onto the series to play a new romantic interest. Lindsay was hired in 1975. Then, in a special 2-part episode, her character was killed off. Her character's death made fans so upset it eventually had to be undone. Her character was brought back to life and given her own spin-off. That was called The Bionic Woman. Though it didn't last as long as The $6 Million Man, it was a minor success, lasting 2 seasons from 1976 to 78. Why The $6 Million Man ended. The $6 Million Man aired from 1974 to 78, though the first made-for-TV feature based on the concept premiered in 1973. All in all, 3 made-for-TV features and 5 seasons of the show were produced. According to Lee Majors, he was surprised when the show was taken off the air. It was still incredibly successful, but the hefty budget made the studio feel as if producing more episodes wasn't feasible. They felt there were more than enough episodes to keep it on the air via syndication. Though Lee Majors wasn't expecting the show to end, he wasn't too upset about it. For 5 years working on the series had eaten up the majority of his free time. This was made all the more cumbersome when you consider the fact that Lee had just married his second wife in 1973. During the years he was working on the show, he was also trying to make his new marriage work. The woman that Lee was married to over the course of The $6 Million Man was Farrah Fawcett. When Lee and Farrah married, she wasn't a star in her own right, but she was a model. When they got married, the intended arrangement was that Farrah would stay at home and prepare Lee's meals while Lee would continue his career as a TV star. Farrah could do her modeling work in her spare time, and it wouldn't interfere with how much time she got to spend with her husband. Even if Lee had to work long days due to his television commitments, Farrah would still be available when he was done. But not long after the marriage started, Farrah started becoming a major celebrity in her own right. In 1976, she was cast to play one of the leads on the hit series Charlie's Angels. Why Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett got divorced. After Charlie's Angels became a big success, the dynamic of their marriage changed considerably. Now the two were barely able to see each other whatsoever. Lee wasn't upset at his wife for her newfound success. Instead, he was simply sad he was hardly able to see her anymore. Farrah felt the same way, but she was also incredibly grateful that she was becoming a star in her own right. When the $6 Million Man ended, Lee may have envisioned that he was finally going to spend more time with Farrah. But this didn't end up being the case. She was still busy. In fact, by the time of the $6 Million Man's cancellation, Farrah had grown to eclipse her husband in terms of fame. After Farrah announced that she and Lee Majors were separating, and before the divorce officially went through, the two stars spent a romantic day together in Atlanta, Georgia. The romantic getaway was part reunion, part farewell. But it shows there was truly no bad blood between the two performers once they decided to call it quits on their marriage. They even stayed the night together, which is something the majority of couples would have a hard time with when preparing for a divorce. After divorcing Farrah Fawcett, Lee Majors took a hiatus from the entertainment industry and traveled around the world. He said he was surprised to find out what a major impact his work on the $6 Million Man had on people across the globe. Eventually, he returned to acting. At age 83, Lee still shows up in the media every once in a while. Sadly, Farrah passed away in June 2009. She was 62. Upon Farrah's passing, Lee had plenty of kind words to share about his ex-wife. Lee and Farrah both moved on. Besides Farrah Fawcett, Lee Majors has had 3 other wives, and Farrah had a couple of other serious relationships during her life. Prior to Farrah, Lee was married to a woman named Kathy Robinson from 1961 to 64. After that, Lee was married to a Playboy model named Karen Velez from 1988 to 94. Today, he's married to a much younger woman named Faith. Faith is over 3 decades younger than Lee, and the May-December romance turned plenty of heads when they married in 2002. But the fact that they're still married after 2 decades shows they still love each other. Though Farrah never remarried after divorcing Lee, she did have another serious romantic partner. She became romantically involved with movie star Ryan O'Neal. Aside from a brief separation in the late 90s due to Ryan's infidelity, the two remained together until Farrah's death. Before meeting Lee Majors, Farrah dated a football player named Greg Lott. Celebrity romances that stay in the limelight are nothing new, but some romances manage to stay the topic of conversation for decades together. One such relationship was Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal. The gossip surrounding their unorthodox relationship was nothing surprising. O'Neal was an infamous womanizer, and Fawcett was the epitome of beauty, with a head full of blonde curls, perfect pearly whites, and a jawline to die for. Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal's roller coaster relationship began in the 80s and ended with Fawcett's death in 2009, with many ups and downs in between. They had pretty much seen it all and then some, starting from a relationship, a child, a separation, other spouses, and in the end, cancer, all while handling careers in the limelight. Whatever else you say, their relationship was the stuff of novels. A renowned ladies' man falls in love with an old friend's wife practically overnight, and it's the real deal. The couple welcomes a child and remains together for more than a decade without making it official. And when they do separate, they eventually make their way back to each other, only for life to have other plans. Let's go over Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal's relationship that managed to make headlines for decades. Farrah Fawcett rose to fame as the poster girl. Her picture in a red swimsuit with blonde curls, a dazzling smile, and a barely there waist shot her to fame overnight in 1976. The poster is one of the best-selling of all time, and men were crazy about the blue-eyed beauty. On the other hand, Ryan O'Neal did a lot of movies and shows, but was best known as a womanizer. From Barbra Streisand to Diana Ross, he could apparently charm anyone. In the late 70s, O'Neal was reconnecting with actor Lee Majors, his long-lost friend from almost 2 decades prior. At this time, Majors was married to Fawcett. In the book Both of Us, My Life with Farrah, O'Neal mentions the first time he saw Fawcett, he found her to be unpretentiously beautiful, vibrant, and refreshing. The first dinner he enjoyed at their place was nice, and the Majors played perfect hosts. It must have gone better than he expected because by the second night, O'Neal was considered a close friend. Majors and Fawcett openly said their marriage was as good as over. While it was all dandy the three were friends, friends, what happened next was nothing short of shocking. As per O'Neill's account in his book, Majors was in Canada and told O'Neill to take Fawcett out for dinner because she might be lonely. While it's acceptable for someone to ask a friend to take their wife out for dinner, it was strange for him to ask the favor of O'Neill, who was an infamous womanizer. O'Neill claims he found the request odd, but a week later, he invited Fawcett to a Ry Cooder concert. He knew she was a fan, which gave him an excuse to extend the invitation without making things odd. On the call, Fawcett claimed she expected to hear from O'Neill, but she would get back to him with an answer. She eventually decided to go along, but Majors had a change of heart. Despite the fact it was his request that O'Neill invite her, he still didn't want her to go. Majors was getting more and more insecure. He would keep calling O'Neill and hang up, and the one time he didn't hang up, he warned him to stay away from Fawcett. But his insecurity didn't turn out to be baseless, because O'Neill had fallen head over heels for her. Without even talking to Fawcett, he confessed to Majors he was in love with her. One surprising thing is Fawcett and O'Neill were never married. Despite an epic love story that spanned 3 decades, the couple felt they needed to tie the knot only twice, once on a sudden whim that didn't work out, and they eventually changed their mind, and a second time when it was meant to be but not meant to be. Keep watching to learn more about that. Before we continue, please take a moment to hit the like button if you're enjoying this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Factsverse for more videos. At this point, Fawcett and Majors were at the peaks of their careers. Fawcett was riding high on the success of the TV series Charlie's Angels, while Majors was a hit from the TV series The $6 Million Man. On the other hand, O'Neill had lost some of the shine he gained from the 1970 film Love Story, and was delivering one box office failure after another. He played a lot of roles, some of which even got critical acclaim, and were well received overseas, but audiences in the US remained unimpressed. Fawcett and Majors separated in 1979, and rumors were abuzz of a relationship between Fawcett and O'Neill. Even though Fawcett had separated from Majors, she continued using the name Fawcett Majors in film credits until their divorce in 1982. The media frenzy didn't die out, but it changed focus for the three of them to the new couple, and Fawcett and O'Neill didn't disappoint. Their relationship was, at least in front of others, the right balance of sugar, spice, and everything nice. Most of the time, the two were the perfect lovebirds, unable to keep their hands off each other. Other times, they were perfectly relatable, such as when they acknowledged they fought often and firmly believed in expressing their opinions and standing by them. When asked about marriage, the charming couple said marriage wasn't in the cards, but neither was separation. They liked where they were and saw no reason to change it. In 1985, Fawcett and O'Neill had a son, Redmond. When asked whether they planned to have more children, Fawcett said O'Neill wanted another child, but she wasn't sure. The two were quite protective of each other. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Fawcett said O'Neill found her beautiful just the way she was without makeup. At the beginning of their relationship, she agreed to go au naturel for a while. On one such instance, they ran into Jay Bernstein, who was previously Fawcett's manager. When O'Neill asked Bernstein how Fawcett looked, he honestly replied she seemed tired. O'Neill's reaction was barely controlled, and Fawcett said he seemed like he would strangle Bernstein for the remark. The better days gave way to hard times eventually, with O'Neill becoming a drug addict. His daughter Tatum cited his drug abuse as the cause of physical and emotional abuse in her autobiography. She even accused O'Neill of seducing her friend and said she was physically abused by one of his friends. O'Neill's son Griffin once said his father was high the whole freaking time, and accused him of forcing him to try cocaine when he was 11. O'Neill accepts he struggled with chronic drug abuse, but claims he didn't give Griffin cocaine, but not for the reasons we expect. He says he doesn't remember giving cocaine, but it's not probable, considering he never would give his cocaine to anyone because it was so expensive. O'Neill and his son Redmond were arrested for drug possession in 2008. O'Neill had failed Fawcett in more ways than one. In 1997, Fawcett caught O'Neill cheating on her with 25-year-old actor Leslie Ann Stephenson, famous for her role in The General's Daughter. During the testimony in a lawsuit, O'Neill said Fawcett was more hurt than angry, but mostly she was in shock. It seems Fawcett was willing to stand by O'Neill no matter what, but she drew the line at infidelity. In 1998, the couple separated but remained friends even after. O'Neill maintains the reasons for their separation were different. He claims a menopausal Fawcett was undergoing a life change and he was done with being unappreciated. The turn of the century proved tumultuous for the now separated couple. Fawcett dated director James Orr, but soon Orr was arrested for physical abuse when he lashed out at Fawcett for rejecting his marriage proposal. After that fiasco, Fawcett was romantically involved with her ex-classmate, Greg Lott, and she was also with O'Neill, but the two had not reconciled their relationship. In 2001, O'Neill was diagnosed with cancer. Promptly after, the two reconciled their differences, and Fawcett was once again by his side taking care of him. They claim they never drifted too far apart, since they would talk on the phone phone every other day. O'Neill was in remission, and it seemed as though things were finally going well when Fawcett was diagnosed with anal cancer in 2006. Soon their roles reversed, and now O'Neill was caring for Fawcett, whose brush with cancer was not as brief as O'Neill's. Her struggle continued for 2.5 years. Towards the end, it had spread to her liver. She was mostly bedridden, with IVs stuck into her semi-permanently, some for treatment, others for nourishment. Over the years, both Fawcett and O'Neill mostly never felt the need to officiate their relationship. However, there was one instant when they felt like getting married was worth it. It was an impulsive decision. They were on their way to a church in Nevada, but a flat tire halted them. The moment was lost. The decision left somewhere in the past. Years later, when Fawcett was struggling with cancer, O'Neill proposed again. After having seen it all together, they agreed it was finally time to say I do. They called for a priest to officiate the ceremony, but it was too late. Fawcett had lost her battle against cancer, and the priest instead administered last rites. Of all the romances you hear about, Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neill's was something unique. It was real, it was raw, and it was beautiful even when it was ugly. Fawcett and O'Neill met under unusual circumstances. Farrah Fawcett met actor Lee Majors in the late 60s, and the two began dating. They married in 1973, but separated in 1979. They technically remained married until 1982, but the year they separated happened to be the same year that Fawcett struck up a relationship with Ryan O'Neill. Ryan O'Neill and Lee Majors were old friends, but they had been out of touch for a number of years. In 1979, the two friends reconnected when Ryan was in Toronto visiting his daughter Tatum O'Neill on the set of a film. O'Neill and Majors started spending quite a bit of time together. Ryan would visit Lee's home, and while reconnecting with his old pal, he also got to know his wife Farrah. It came as a surprise when O'Neill received a phone call from Majors one day asking him to take his wife out to dinner. Lee had flown back to Canada, and Fawcett was left alone back at their home in California. O'Neill thought it unusual that a man was asking another man to take his wife out to dinner, but there was another factor at play that made him feel somewhat uncomfortable. Fawcett wasn't just a friend's wife. She was something more than that to him, as the two shared an undeniable connection from the moment they first met. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. There was an immediate connection. O'Neill and Fawcett made each other's acquaintance just days before Ryan received that phone call. Majors invited him over for dinner. The band of friends played a round of racquetball and had dinner together. The following evening, Fawcett invited O'Neill back over to watch a boxing match on TV. Ryan was planning to go to Las Vegas to watch it in person, but Farrah convinced him to watch it on TV with her and Majors instead. By the second evening, O'Neill was apparently trusted enough to be considered a member of Majors and Fawcett's inner circle, as they started revealing the intimate and somewhat dicey details of their relationship to him. They told him the marriage was basically over. It wasn't long after this that Majors asked O'Neill to take Farrah out for dinner. While he found her attractive, the situation still made him feel wildly and reasonably uncomfortable. A week later, he saw that there was going to be a Ry Cooper concert in town. Remembering that Fawcett was a fan gave him an excuse to invite her to the show. Things got weird though after O'Neill called up Fawcett and asked her out. At first she agreed, but when she talked to Majors about it, he got irate and forbade her from going even though it was his idea in the first place. Majors then started calling O'Neill's house and hanging up. Eventually, he told O'Neill to stay away from his woman. Instead of backing down, O'Neill told Majors he was in love with Fawcett. It was a situation he hadn't been in before, as he was committing to someone even before talking to her about it. While their love for each other was electrifying, it also came with some high-stakes drama that ultimately played out very publicly. At times throughout their relationship, they seemed like the perfect couple. They would shower each other with love in front of the media, with near-constant public displays of affection. But they could also be brutally honest and real with each other. The two would often fight and wouldn't back down from their opinions. O'Neill and Fawcett had a son together named Redmond O'Neill, who was born in 1985. They considered having more, and Ryan definitely wanted at least another, but Fawcett had mixed feelings. In 1994, she told TV Guide that her and O'Neill's relationship had serious problems. She said that Ryan sometimes broke her heart, but she insisted he was still responsible for giving her confidence in herself. When they first got together, he convinced Farrah she didn't need to always wear makeup or worry about her hair, as he found her beautiful without all that. Drugs, abuse, a shooting, and infidelity. Life at the O'Neill's house was always full of drama. In the late 90s, Farrah was battling drug addiction and was often incoherent. Evidence of this can be seen in that infamous train wreck of a Letterman interview she gave in June of 1997. in which she appeared to be phasing in and out of lucidity. Later in 1997, Fawcett caught Ryan in bed with actress Leslie Stephenson. Farrah broke things off with O'Neill, and the couple went their separate ways. After their split, Tatum O'Neill alleged that her father had physically abused Fawcett. Whether or not these allegations are true is hard to determine, but O'Neill and Fawcett did rekindle their relationship in 2001. Although according to former Longhorn football star Greg Lott, their relationship was just a ruse to keep up appearances. To his credit, Fawcett ended up leaving $100,000 for Lott in his living trust when she left O'Neill nothing. In 2007, O'Neill was arrested for allegedly shooting at his son Griffin. He claimed he shot at the then 42-year-old in self-defense, and charges were dropped. Their son Redmond has struggled with drug addiction for the majority of his life. In 2018, he was arrested for attempted murder, robbery, assault, and drug possession after attempting to rob a convenience store in Santa Monica. O'Neill never got over Fawcett. As hurtful as their breakup had been, Ryan and Farrah apparently never stopped caring for each other. Whether or not their reconciliation in 2001 was as legitimate as the media made it out to be, it was clear the two stars still cared for each other. Not long after getting back together, O'Neill was diagnosed with leukemia. Farrah remained by his side and served as his caretaker until his cancer went into remission. In 2006, Fawcett was diagnosed with anal cancer. This time around, O'Neill stepped up to the plate to be her caretaker. In 2009, as she approached her final days, O'Neill once again proposed to her. Reportedly, she accepted and vowed to marry him once she was well enough. The following day, Farrah's doctors took her off life support, and a few hours later, she passed away by O'Neill's side. O'Neill would later say there wasn't a day in their relationship that he didn't love Fawcett. Even years later, he claims he hasn't gotten over her. He says he wishes he had done many things differently. If he were granted a do-over, he'd be more mature, understanding, and kinder. Alternative medicine. In time, it was revealed Fawcett had chosen to decline surgery in favor of continuing treatment in Germany, despite the fact the cancer had already spread to her liver. Some experimental treatments prescribed to Fawcett by her specialists Professor Thomas Vogel and Dr. Ursula Jacob were rounds of what's called chemoablation, which consists of injecting chemicals directly into affected organs, laser ablation, which heats the tumor in hopes of killing the cancerous cells, and large doses of immune-boosting vitamins and supplements. Once she returned home in April 2009, she checked herself into an LA area hospital, triggering a slew of rumors she was nearing death. According to her attending physician, Dr. Lawrence Pirro, Farrah was admitted to the hospital not because of her cancer, but because of complications that arose following her treatment in Germany. He further clarified she'd been experiencing a dangerous blood clot in her abdominal muscles, most likely from the repeated injections to her liver that she had received. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. And stick around to see how Farrah, through her friend Alana Stewart's documentary, is still doing her part saving lives to this day. Methods called into question. In the documentary, Farrah's story, she expressed some concern with how the German clinic operated. Some of the procedures they employ have come under the scrutiny of other oncologists. For one thing, the laser ablation that Vogel and Jacob touted as a potential cure is only typically used as a last-ditch pain relief option in patients with Fawcett's stage of cancer. In a similar manner, outdated practices such as chemosensitivity tests and Vogel's claims about the immune-boosting effects of vitamins have long cast doubt on the methods employed by the Frankfurt-based clinic. In the end, it's clear Fawcett made a choice. The standard method of treatment for someone with anal cancer would be to remove both the anus and rectum, which would have left Fawcett with a colostomy bag for the rest of her life. This was an option she frankly wasn't willing to pursue. Fawcett passed away with her longtime lover Ryan O'Neill and best friend Alana Stewart by her side. She was survived by her partner and their son, Redmond O'Neill. She allowed Alana to document her battle. Farrah Fawcett didn't want her struggle with anal cancer to be for naught, so she allowed her best friend to film even the most raw moments of her fight with terminal cancer. The cameras were rolling even when she was writhing in agony, clutching her rosary in her hospital bed, begging God for relief. The footage is nothing short of astonishing. At one point, while projectile vomiting, Farrah looked up and asked Alana why she wasn't filming. Farrah wanted to show the world what the face of cancer really looked like. Too often, cancer is something we keep hush-hush about. It's nitty-gritty and heartbreaking to confront face-to-face. But Farrah wanted to break down that wall and encourage people to take it seriously. In her eyes, documenting her suffering might just encourage someone to take their health more seriously. Many types of cancers are treatable if they're caught early. But in her case, by the time it was discovered, it was likely already too late. Farrah's story, as the documentary is called, is essentially Fawcett's final curtain call. It came out in 2009 and was even nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Nonfiction Special. Her final days were hard to watch. Fawcett rose to fame as the blonde bombshell in the original Charlie's Angels series, but in contrast, in Farrah's story, she can be seen close to death in some of the final scenes of the film. At one point, she's so sedated and disoriented, she doesn't even recognize her own son. It's absolutely heart-wrenching to witness. Her partner, Ryan O'Neal, can be seen on camera sobbing and shaking his hands, warning those in the room they all needed to brace themselves for the inevitable. Farrah first began a video diary of her treatment in the early days following her diagnosis in September of 2006. But it soon snowballed into an unparalleled record of her 2.5-year roller coaster of a ride of unimaginable highs and lows. There are a number of encouraging moments throughout the film, and Fawcett's relentless resilience is inspiring. But even as she continues to promise she will fight with every fiber, her prognosis becomes bleaker and bleaker. A startling contrast. At one point, Farrah Fawcett had what could be called the most famous hair in the world. But in the film, Fawcett is seen with her hair falling out in huge clumps. Eventually, she shaves most of it off, then shows her dome off to the camera. Kate Jackson and Jaclyn Smith, two of her former Angels co-stars, are both seen in the documentary rallying for their friend. Stewart documents Farrah's excruciating journey as she explores all the alternative treatments in Germany. What's particularly gripping about the film is the pain and suffering documented in Farrah's circle of friends and family. Considering the fact she was such a huge sex symbol for so many years, there is a certain irony about the type of quote-unquote unmentionable cancer she ended up suffering from, but she broke down barriers by being an anal cancer sufferer prepared to document her battle on camera. Cancer is always a devastating thing to watch someone go through, especially when it's painful and terminal. But Farrah Fawcett did the world a service by getting vulnerable for the camera and documenting her fight. It was an extremely invasive process to go through, but it's likely that her sharing her experience with the world might end up saving someone's life. That's what she would have hoped for. She had a heart of gold and wanted to do more good for this world than harm. She was always consciously trying to find ways she could contribute and benefit the world around her. It's only fitting her last film be an extension of that same goal. Farrah before the poster. Farrah Fawcett was born February 2, 1947 in Corpus Christi, Texas, to parents Pauline and James Fawcett. She graduated from University of Texas with a degree in microbiology, but her true passion was always acting. Farrah was discovered at a college beauty pageant in the late 60s. She moved to LA and got noticed right away. Her first roles included commercials for Wella Balsam shampoo and Ultra Bright toothpaste. She met Lee Majors, star of The Big Valley, in 1968. Their publicists set them up on a blind date, and they were immediately taken with each other. Farrah made her film debut in the 1969 film Love is a Funny Thing. She later appeared in the film adaptation of Gore Vidal's novel Myra Breckinridge in 1970. It was a major failure, but she was determined to keep going. Farrah and Lee were married in 1973. The same year, she earned a recurring role in the series Harry O. She got the attention of a major producer named Aaron Spelling after her performance in Logan's Run in 1976. He was the one who nabbed her the role in Charlie's Angels that same year. It earned record-breaking ratings, won her a People's Choice Award for Favorite Female Performer in a new TV program in 1977, and catapulted her to stardom. The creation of the poster. Kate Jackson and Jaclyn Smith turned down the offer to do a bikini photo shoot to promote Charlie's Angels, despite claims that the girls could share the profits. Farrah thought the idea was cute, but wanted to be involved in the process as much as possible. Bruce McBroom took the photos that would later be used for the iconic poster. He'd worked with Farrah before because he was a friend of Lee Majors, her live-in boyfriend at the time. He took the photos at Farrah's home. She didn't have a bikini, but he said she could wear whatever she had on hand. Farrah controlled almost every detail of the shoot and made sure they could do it her way. She ignored requests for, quote, sexy images and did her own hair and makeup. Bruce took Farrah's picture for hours and used up 40 rolls of film, but didn't feel like he had taken the right picture. He asked her to try wearing something else, and she chose the red swimsuit to hide a scar on her stomach that she'd had since childhood. He knew it was perfect and used a Mexican blanket he had in his truck as the backdrop. Mike and Ted Trilkis were two Ohio brothers who sold blacklight posters to hippies at Kent State. The son of one of his neighbors noticed that men in his dorm were buying women's magazines just to see Farrah Fawcett in the shampoo ads. He knew they could turn it into a poster. Mike and Ted's lives changed in the summer of 1976 when they received a package with 25 shots of Farrah in the famous red swimsuit. She even marked her favorite shot with a star. Ted showed the photos around the office for a second opinion. The company thought a bikini pinup poster would sell more copies, but eventually went with the one she'd chosen. Its provocative but sweet nature made it a massive hit. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First for more. Keep watching to learn how the red swimsuit poster became so iconic and how it affected her career. The popularity of the poster. The poster became an immediate hit. Pro Arts earned $2 million in 1976 alone. They sold 3 million copies the next year, netting $6 million in revenue and $1 million in profit. It was so popular it began a period known as the Farrah phenomenon. Everyone wanted the poster on their wall. Women started copying her hairstyle, and everyone knew her name. She went from earning $5,000 an episode in Charlie's Angels to netting $400,000 in royalties from the poster alone. She only stayed on the show for its first season, but the poster used to promote it will be remembered forever. Bruce never quite understood what made the poster so popular, but feels it was a combination of, quote, this wholesome, beautiful, all-American girl with a dazzling smile and a red suit that covered a lot but revealed a little. The poster's designer, Norma Kamali, also had plenty to say. She didn't like the design or the swimsuit and made a new design later. At the same time, she agreed with Bruce that Farrah was wonderful to work with and is grateful to be a part of her legacy. Farrah had to sue Biographics Inc., Pi International Inc., and TN Trickless because they all claimed exclusive rights to the photo on the poster. She requested at least $100,000 in reparations, but dropped the case on May 11, 1977. After the poster debuted, Mike and Ted Trilkis became multi-millionaires who now run Pro Arts Inc. Ted Trilkis even earned the distinction of the King of the Posters from the Washington Post. Farrah after the poster. Farrah Fawcett enjoyed her time on Charlie's Angels and got along well with her co-stars, but decided the material was too lightweight and not worth the strain it was putting on her marriage. She left to begin a movie career. The producers sued her, and she lost her part in the 1978 film Foul Play to Goldie Hawn. The animosity didn't last forever, and they reached an agreement where Farrah still would guest star on Charlie's Angels. She had to work alongside her replacement, Cheryl Ladd, who said she always remained professional despite the potential awkwardness. That compromise allowed Farrah to pursue a film career, but it didn't start out well. Her first 3 films, Somebody Killed Her Husband, Sunburn, and Saturn III, were all flops. The Cannonball Run in 1981 was successful financially, but received poor reviews and negative publicity after her stunt double Heidi Von Beltz suffered a tragic accident on set. Farrah met Ryan O'Neal in 1981, who encouraged her to return to television. She starred in a 1981 miniseries Murder in Texas and filed for divorce from Lee Majors in 1982. She began dating and moved in with Ryan soon after. Farrah's later roles were more serious, including the play Extremities and the film The Burning Bed in 1984 that earned her an Emmy and Golden Globe nominations. Farrah and Ryan had a son named Redmond in 1985. She starred in the film version of Extremities in 1986 and earned another Golden Globe nomination, even though it was a bit of a flop. Farrah continued to seek out serious roles for the rest of her life. She returned to TV, earning an Emmy nomination for Small Sacrifices in 1989 and starring with Ryan in Good Sports in 91. She also used her natural beauty to come back from slumps in her career. She posed for Playboy at age 48 in 1995, and it was the best-selling issue of that decade. Her career was back on track by then, but her second marriage was not. She broke up with Ryan in 1997. Farrah posed for Playboy again at age 50 and promoted the spread on David Letterman. Her next major role was in The Apostle in 1997. She began dating James Orr after that, the director of the 1995 film Man of the House. A scandal erupted in 1998 when it became known he was abusive towards her. She testified against him in court, and he was found guilty of assault. Farrah also suffered numerous losses in the next few years. Her only sister, Diane Fawcett Walls, and her mother, Pauline, both died in 2001. The producer of Charlie's Angels died in 2006, leading her to reunite with her former co-stars. Farrah worked as long as she could despite these losses. She starred in Dr. T and the Women in 2000, received her third Emmy nomination for The Guardian in 2003, and created a short-lived reality show called Chasing Farrah in 2005. Her charity work was also extensive. She supported the Cancer Society, appeared at the Humanitarian Awards in Media, spoke at anti-domestic violence panels produced by the Show Coalition, and was a board member on the National Advisory Council for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. She co-produced the documentary Farrah's Story in 2009 after being diagnosed with cancer. Her friend Alana Stewart recorded her doctor's visits, and she stayed by her friend's side along with Farrah's ex, Ryan O'Neal. The documentary was also the last time the three original Angels were seen together on film. It was a ratings success and earned an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Nonfiction Special. Tragically, she died of cancer at age 62 on June 25, 2009. She left a large portion of her estate to her son Redmond and set up a trust fund used to create the Farrah Fawcett Foundation for Cancer Research and Prevention. Ryan O'Neal said he was following her wishes when he donated the red swimsuit and a copy of the poster to the Smithsonian on February 2, 2011. After the premiere of its first season in September of 1976, Charlie's Angels quickly became a popular show on television. Farrah Fawcett's performance as Jill, one of the three former police officers turned private investigators, was largely responsible for her meteoric rise to fame. She was showered with more fan letters and gained more media publicity than either of her sister Angels. It came as a surprise when Fawcett stated in 1977 she was going to leave the program, particularly in light of the show's success. Join Factsverse as we provide answers to the question, why did Farrah Fawcett leave Charlie's Angels? Given the success the show had enjoyed in its first season, the last thing fans anticipated was that Farrah Fawcett would quit the show. While it's hard to come up with any reason that would have inspired her to quit the show, there are some shocking details to the story. It's pretty likely Fawcett's marital problems were a factor in her decision to leave. She was married to Lee Majors at the time. They were both extremely popular on television during the 70s. They were exposed to the harsh light of public attention, which was a blessing and a curse. Majors once stated their fame caused difficulties in their relationships. Aside from that, their working schedule sometimes kept them away from one another. Their work schedule also negatively impacted their marriage, and because they were both stars on separate television shows, the pair had significantly less time to spend together. Majors remembered, "There was a year or so when I guess I saw her 2 weeks in a year. It's quite challenging when it comes to occupations like that. The industry is notoriously difficult. Both of us were putting in 14-hour days at the office, and the weeks flew by quickly." After many ups and downs, the pair finally parted ways in 1979 and divorced 3 years later. There were also claims her decision not to return to the show was because of how she felt about her sister Angels. There were negative consequences to shining above her co-stars. In an interview with People published in 1981, she said, quote, "I felt uneasy knowing that I was receiving more fan letters and attention than Jacqueline Smith or Kate Jackson. I noticed them changing, not on the outside, but on the inside. Even though we never got into a disagreement, I still felt like there was a barrier between us." Fawcett was unable to have a regular life when she was not working because she had such a large number of devoted followers. She was forced to limit the amount of time she spent participating in her usual hobbies because she was constantly followed wherever she went. She also believed that in order to adjust to her new life, she needed to take certain measures. And in 1984, she said, quote, "I became successful before I was ready for it or knew what I was doing. The success came before I had done what I thought was a good role. I knew that if I was going to stay in the business, I had to change, and I wanted to change." The production of Charlie's Angels was not just labor-intensive, but also potentially hazardous. During filming, Fawcett was involved in a collision with a race car, which resulted in severe bruising on her leg. Another possible explanation for why she quit the show might be money-related. Fawcett was an essential component in the success of the show. Aaron Spelling, who produced the series, stated that, quote, "Her hair was a big part of the show's success. It eventually evolved into one of our signatures." Despite this, she was only paid $5,000 per episode, which is half of what her co-star Jackson, who was already more well-known when the show premiered, made. And despite the fact that her image was used on everything from lunchboxes to board games, Fawcett only received 2% of the revenue from the merchandise sales. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. She was set to receive a raise to $10,000 per episode thanks to the first season's success, which aired from 1976 to 77. But according to the Washington Post, she sought $75,000 instead. She reportedly asked for 10% of the merchandise revenue. While they could have worked something out, production found out that Fawcett was not interested in bargaining. It's possible Fawcett didn't try to negotiate the amount of money she made because she saw movies as an opportunity to make more. At the beginning of 1977, she mentioned to the Washington Post that she wanted to create movies, and her co-star Smith has confirmed Fawcett wanted to produce features instead of a series. And at the time, it was a reasonable assumption that people would pay to see her on the big screen. Fawcett and her then-husband, Lee Majors, who was mostly known for his role in The $6 Million Man, established Fawcett Majors Productions to create and direct their own films. The producers reportedly made an offer to the actress where they would pay her to star in an upcoming film while they would still pay her to appear in Angels, but she didn't accept the offer. After she left for good, she was also hit with a breach of contract lawsuit by producers in the amount of $7 million, which she couldn't fight. As part of the settlement, she was compelled to make multiple appearances as a guest host on her previous show. In an interview with the Archives of American Television, the producer of Charlie's Angels, Leonard Goldberg, claimed he had cautioned Farrah that the activities she was about to take would have major consequences. In 1979, Farrah revealed to People magazine that the aftermath of the Charlie's Angels case nearly sank her. She stated the industry was antagonistic towards her since she was a TV sex symbol who aspired to be an actress. The industry was unhappy with me and unfriendly because I wanted to be an actress, she added. People had the impression that I was really snobbish, and as a result, for several months, no one would touch me because they felt I was poison. But I knew I had no intention of giving up. According to Broadway World, she was offered the main part in an off-Broadway production of the gritty drama Extremities in 1983. It was in this role that reviewers started to see past her reputation as a sex symbol. In 1986, when interviewed by the New York Times, Fawcett stated that people said it was a tremendous risk. Quote, "But when you have a deep passion for something, you don't give much thought to the potential consequences." The theatrical play helped pave the way for her 1984 television miniseries The Burning Bed, for which she received a nomination for an Emmy Award as an outstanding lead actress in a limited series or special. Fawcett was seen by everyone in a new light with the release of the film Burning Bed, which was based on the true story of a mistreated wife who killed her husband. After that, she was cast in a number of high-profile roles, such as the TV movie adaptation of Extremities in 1986, Small Sacrifices in '89, and a recurring role in The Guardian, for which she was nominated for an Emmy. After she departed Charlie's Angels, Fawcett's career never achieved the same level of success again. Her first film after Angels, Somebody Killed Her Husband, was a flop and became famous for giving rise to the phrase, "somebody killed her career." Throughout the years, Fawcett remained connected with Charlie's Angels. She was also able to benefit from the long-lasting connections the show had established. For instance, Jackson and Smith, both of whom had overcome breast cancer, banded together after learning Fawcett had been diagnosed with anal cancer to support their fellow angel until her demise in 2009.
Well, for example, I don't mean to talk about your private life, except to say there's a good example of how difficult it must be to be involved in a divorce or a separation, whatever it happens to be at the moment, and have to share that with the world.
Yes, there are some things that you would like to. I think they're hard enough to deal with privately. I think it's painful, and then when it becomes public and it becomes everyone's business, then it becomes even harder to deal with, because you're not just dealing with the feelings of two people and his family and my family. You're dealing with all the outside forces, which tend to make it harder to deal with. I mean, you're constantly reading about it in the paper.
Farrah Fawcett, born February 2nd, 1947, was an American actress and iconic symbol of the 1970s. With her dazzling smile, cascading blonde hair, and undeniable charisma, she captured the hearts of millions worldwide. She was most known for her role as Jill Monroe in Charlie's Angels, a role she's still remembered for today. Her portrayal of Monroe, the athletic and fearless private investigator, epitomized the era's fascination with independent and empowered women. Beyond her role in Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett showcased her acting prowess in various film and TV projects, earning critical acclaim and a dedicated fan base. She received several award nominations, including Emmy and Golden Globe nominations for her work in television movies such as The Burning Bed and Small Sacrifices. Aside from her acting career, Fawcett's influence extended into the realms of fashion and popular culture. Her iconic red swimsuit poster, featuring her radiant smile and tousled hair, became a best-selling poster of all time, cementing her status as a sex symbol and fashion icon of the 1970s. Farrah Fawcett's legacy continues to endure long after her passing in 2009. She remains an enduring symbol of beauty, strength, and empowerment, remembered not only for her talent as an actress, but also for her immense courage in facing personal challenges, particularly her public battle with cancer, which she documented in the poignant television special Farrah's Story. But behind the camera, there was much of a fuss made about Farrah Fawcett's personal life. And as with many great actresses, these incidents would often overshadow her talents. There were also many rumors that spread during her life, and now, over a decade after her death, these rumors are now being discussed again. Facts First presents The Farrah Fawcett Rumors Are Now Confirmed 15 years after her death. Farrah Fawcett was linked to many famous men during her career. But as she was also an ambitious actress, the relationships didn't always work out. And of course, the paparazzi had to chase after her to prepare their lurid stories for the tabloids. Her first marriage was to actor Lee Majors. They met via Majors' publicist and hit it off quickly. They were married for 9 years, from 1973 until their divorce in 1982. Farrah Fawcett and Lee Majors were one of the most iconic couples of the 70s, epitomizing glamour, success, and Hollywood allure. Their marriage, which began in 1973, was a high-profile union that captured the imagination of fans around the world. But behind the glitz and glamour, the relationship faced numerous challenges, ultimately leading to their divorce. By this time, Farrah Fawcett hadn't yet become a part of the soon-to-be hit television series Charlie's Angels. She would eventually play Jill Monroe 3 years after marrying Lee Majors, and once Charlie's Angels became a hit, she became absolutely unavailable. Nevertheless, at this time, she was still a rather well-known actress, known primarily for her work in the feature film Myra Breckinridge. Lee Majors, on the other hand, was already a household name thanks to his role as Steve Austin in The $6 Million Man, a science fiction series that enjoyed immense popularity. It should be noted that Farrah Fawcett had also made guest appearances on 4 episodes of the show. Their marriage in 1973 was seen as a union of 2 Hollywood powerhouses, a match made in Tinseltown heaven. However, as their careers continued to soar, the pressures of fame, coupled with demanding work schedules, began to take a toll on their relationship. Farrah's skyrocketing success with Charlie's Angels propelled her into the stratosphere of celebrity, while Lee Majors continued to command attention with his role in The $6 Million Man. The media scrutiny surrounding their marriage was relentless, with tabloids and paparazzi constantly hounding the couple for any tidbit of information. Every aspect of the relationship was scrutinized, from their public appearances to their private moments. The intense spotlight placed immense pressure on Farrah and Lee, making it difficult for them to maintain a sense of normalcy in their marriage. Despite their best efforts to keep the relationship out of the public eye, rumors of discord began to surface. Speculation about infidelity and conflicts behind closed doors only fueled the media frenzy surrounding their marriage. Farrah's burgeoning film career and desire to explore new opportunities further strained their already fragile relationship, as she sought to establish herself as more than just a television star. In 1977, after 4 years of marriage, Farrah Fawcett and Lee Majors announced their separation, sending shockwaves through Hollywood and their legion of fans. The disillusion of their marriage was met with intense media scrutiny, with tabloids dissecting every aspect of their relationship and speculating on the reasons behind their split. Despite their best efforts to maintain privacy, the glare of the spotlight proved too harsh to escape. Their divorce in 1982 marked the end of an era for Farrah and Lee, signaling the conclusion of a once promising union that had captured the hearts of millions. While both went on to find success in their respective careers, their marriage remained a defining chapter in Hollywood history, a testament to the challenges faced by couples in the spotlight. The pressures of fame, coupled with the constant attention from the media, undoubtedly played a significant role in the demise of Farrah Fawcett and Lee Majors' marriage. Despite their undeniable chemistry and shared success, their marriage ultimately succumbed to the pressures of fame, leaving behind a legacy that continues to fascinate fans.
But the two careers in one family have broken up many marriages, Farrah. There is a thing about being together. You know, they say maybe you can be together too much. I'm a believer that you must be together because it's the day-to-day habit that builds all the things. That's difficult for you and Lee, because he had to be on location not too long ago, and you had to be on location.
Right.
How do you manage to? Because your marriage is about as strong and solid as any I know in this town.
It is. I think that it takes a lot of thought and a lot of preparation. In other words, we kind of had to psych ourselves into it and say, if I take this job and you take that job, which obviously are important to both of us, what's going to happen to us? And I mean, we're very careful about that, and we care about us, but we know that we have the rest of our lives to be together.
By the time Farrah Fawcett had separated, she was one of the hottest stars in Hollywood. When they divorced in 1982, she was still a heartthrob desired by men all over the world. She had left Charlie's Angels after just one season, yet that season was enough to make her an in-demand actress. Not to mention, a few years earlier, she appeared in a swimsuit poster that took the world by storm. While we might be used to swimsuit posters and photos of celebrities today, this wasn't always the norm at the time, and owning a poster of Farrah Fawcett in her swimsuit was something every male fan wanted. As she was a woman so desired, it was only natural that a hint of any relationship with a man would attract the obsession of tabloid journalists. After departing from the iconic role of Jill Monroe in Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett continued to captivate audiences with her talent and charisma, solidifying her status as not only an actress but also a timeless sex symbol. Although her departure from the show could have been a risky career move, Fawcett navigated her post-Angels career with grace and versatility, showcasing her acting prowess across various mediums. One of the notable highlights of Fawcett's career after Charlie's Angels was her transition to the big screen. She took on diverse roles that demonstrated her range as an actress, earning critical acclaim and maintaining her status as a box office draw. In 1980, she delivered a powerful performance in the film The Burning Bed, portraying a battered wife who seeks justice against her abusive husband. Her portrayal earned her both Emmy and Golden Globe nominations, showcasing her ability to tackle complex and challenging roles with depth and authenticity. Despite her success in dramatic roles, Fawcett's allure as a sex symbol remained undiminished. Her iconic poster, featuring her trademark feathered hair and dazzling smile, continued to adorn the walls of millions, maintaining her status as an enduring symbol of beauty and glamour. But as she was receiving praise for her work, there was always a section of the press that was eager to find out about her personal life.
Now, I knew who she was. She was a Charlie's Angels, but I hadn't seen Charlie's Angels. I didn't know the intensity of her popularity. Not really. I was a snob, you know, movies. So I went and I played, and there she was in the driveway. My God, she was breathtaking.
Right. Farrah Fawcett's relationship with Ryan O'Neal stands as one of Hollywood's most storied romances. Their love story, marked by passion, tumult, and enduring affection, captivated the public's imagination during the 70s and beyond. Their initial encounter blossomed into a whirlwind romance that mirrored the intensity of their on-screen personas, creating a narrative that transcended the silver screen. The sparks between Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal ignited on the set of the film The Thief Who Came to Dinner in 1972, though they had of course met when she was still married to Lee Majors. Both rising stars in their own right, their chemistry was palpable, and it wasn't long before their on-screen collaboration translated into a real-life romance. Their connection seemed almost predestined, with Fawcett's radiant beauty and O'Neal's rugged charm complementing each other perfectly. Their relationship quickly became the talk of Tinseltown, as tabloids and fans alike clamored for details of their love affair. The coupling of two of Hollywood's brightest stars seemed like a match made in heaven, and the public eagerly followed their every move. As their romance blossomed, Fawcett and O'Neal became inseparable, often photographed together at glamorous events and on romantic getaways. Their affection for one another was evident, with gestures of love and admiration openly displayed both on and off the red carpet. O'Neill, already an established actor, stood by her side as she became one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. Together, they epitomized the glitz and glamour of celebrity romance, their love story capturing the hearts of millions around the world. Despite their undeniable chemistry and outward displays of affection, Fawcett and O'Neill's relationship still had its challenges. The demands of their respective careers often kept them apart for extended periods, leading to strains on their relationship, and the intense scrutiny of the media and public spotlight added pressure to their already complicated dynamic. But through the ups and downs, Fawcett and O'Neill's bond remained resilient. Their genuine affection for one another was evident in the way they supported and stood by each other through triumphs and tribulations. Theirs was a love story that transcended the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, rooted in a deep emotional connection that endured despite the challenges they faced. Their first relationship together ultimately came to a bittersweet end, but eventually it rekindled, which we'll get to a bit later. Oddly enough, while Lee Majors was married to Farrah Fawcett, he unintentionally contributed to her affair with Ryan O'Neal, which began shortly after they met. While Lee Majors was away in Canada shooting a film, he encouraged Ryan O'Neal to keep in touch with Farrah so she wouldn't be lonely. He even encouraged him to take her out to dinner. He must have regretted this later because Ryan O'Neal did take Farrah out, and the two of them hit it off quickly. Let's first take a look at who Ryan O'Neal was at this time. O'Neal was born April 20th, 1941 in LA. He emerged as one of Hollywood's most recognizable leading men during the 1970s. With his rugged good looks and charismatic presence, O'Neal carved out a niche for himself in both film and television, earning critical acclaim and widespread popularity. O'Neal's journey to stardom began in the 60s with early roles in television shows like Perry Mason and The Alfred Hitchcock Hour. But it was his breakout performance in the film Love Story in 1970 that catapulted him to A-list status. Portraying the role of Oliver Barrett IV, a wealthy Harvard student who falls in love with a working-class girl played by Ali MacGraw, O'Neal captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. The film's iconic line, "Love means never having to say you're sorry," became synonymous with O'Neal's portrayal of the romantic lead, cementing his status as a bona fide Hollywood heartthrob. Following the success of Love Story, O'Neal continued to solidify his reputation as a leading man in films like Barry Lyndon in 1975, directed by Stanley Kubrick, and A Bridge Too Far in '77, alongside an ensemble of Hollywood heavyweights. His performances showcased a depth and versatility that transcended the romantic archetype he had become known for, earning him critical acclaim and further establishing his star power. Despite his professional success, O'Neal's personal life was marked by turbulence, particularly in his romantic relationships. Before his relationship with Farrah, O'Neal experienced 2 divorces that garnered significant media attention. His first marriage to actress Joanna Moore in 1963 ended in divorce in '67 after a tumultuous relationship plagued by substance abuse and infidelity. The couple had 3 children together, including Tatum O'Neal, who later became the youngest actress to win an Academy Award for her role in Paper Moon in 1973. Following his divorce from Moore, O'Neal married his second wife, Lee Taylor Young, in 1967. Their marriage, like his first, was marred by personal struggles, including O'Neal's ongoing battle with addiction. The couple welcomed a son, Patrick O'Neal, before ultimately divorcing in 1973. Despite the challenges of his personal life, O'Neal's career continued to flourish, and he remained a prominent figure in Hollywood throughout the 80s and beyond.
Do you remember the first time you gave her the kiss of death in real life?
Oh, yeah, sure. Like it was yesterday.
Really? Tell me about that moment.
I remember it because I had to get 2 stitches in my lower lip. I bled seriously. But
was it that intense?
it was, well, look what I'm kissing. Look at the mouth on this girl.
In front of the camera, and while being interviewed by talk show hosts like Arsenio Hall, Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett seemed to have a relationship that most of us would envy. But behind the scenes, there was something much darker. Ryan and Farrah never married, even after she divorced Lee Majors. But they seemed like the perfect couple who didn't need marriage to show their commitment through a contract. But was the relationship as wonderful as it seemed? Before we get to that, let's quickly explore some of her other high-profile relationships outside of Ryan O'Neal. Farrah's relationship with Canadian filmmaker James Orr was a significant chapter in her personal life. They met in the early 90s and quickly formed a deep connection, drawn together by their shared passions for art and filmmaking. They became an item shortly after she left Ryan O'Neal, though she rekindled with O'Neal later in life. James Orr, known for his work as a writer and director, brought a new dynamic into Fawcett's life. Their relationship blossomed against the backdrop of mutual creative endeavors, with Orr's artistic sensibilities complementing Fawcett's own talents as an actress and artist. As their romance flourished, Fawcett and Orr were often seen together at public events, their affection for one another evident to those around them. Despite the challenges that accompany relationships in the public eye, they appeared to be deeply in love. However, behind the facade of their seemingly idyllic romance, cracks began to emerge. Reports of tumultuous arguments and heated disputes surfaced, hinting at the darker undercurrents lurking beneath the surface. Despite these challenges, Fawcett remained committed to making their love work, hoping their shared bond would ultimately prevail. Tragically, their relationship took a devastating turn in 1998 when James Orr assaulted Farrah Fawcett during a violent altercation. The incident, which happened during a heated argument, shocked the public and sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Fawcett, a beloved icon revered by millions, found herself thrust into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, forced to confront the harsh reality of domestic violence. In the aftermath of the assault, Fawcett bravely spoke out about her experience, shedding light on the prevalence of domestic abuse and the urgent need for societal change. Her courage in coming forward empowered other victims to break their silence and seek help, sparking a national conversation about the importance of ending violence against women. Despite her traumatic ordeal, Farrah emerged from the darkness with a newfound strength and resilience. She refused to let the scars of her past define her, choosing to use her platform to advocate for change and raise awareness about the issue of domestic violence. Farrah's relationship with football player Greg Lott was a big aspect of her personal life, spanning decades and defying the odds of fame and fortune. Their story began during Fawcett's undergraduate years at the University of Texas at Austin. Their relationship blossomed against the backdrop of college life, characterized by the excitement of youth. Despite the demands of Fawcett's burgeoning acting career, she and Lott remained deeply connected, their bond strengthened by shared experiences and mutual admiration. But as Fawcett's star continued to rise in Hollywood and his successful athletic career, they eventually grew apart. Despite her many accomplishments, her heart remained tethered to Greg Lott, the love of her youth. Their paths crossed once again in the late 90s, following Fawcett's breakup with James Orr. The reunion sparked a rekindling of their romance as they rediscovered the depth of their connection. In the years that followed, Fawcett and Lott remained close companions, leaning on each other for support and solace through life's ups and downs. Tragically, Farrah passed away in 2009, bringing an end to a love story that had endured for over 4 decades. Despite the pain of her loss, Greg Lott remained devoted to her memory, honoring her legacy and cherishing the time they shared together.
He's not the love of her life. I'm the love of her life. And Alana Stewart's not her best friend. I'm her best friend. And I don't know what these people are or what their agenda is, except for the fame and the money. I'm not interested in either one of those things.
Greg Lott always claimed he was Farrah Fawcett's true love. He said that during the final years of her life, after she'd been diagnosed with leukemia, he was prevented from seeing her by Ryan O'Neal. While most of the media discussing Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett was positive, there were rumors of an ugliness behind the facade of beauty. In the years since her passing, there have been more discussions on whether their relationship was as wonderful as it seemed. Their relationship was marked by passionate arguments and intense emotions, reflecting their tumultuous journey together. Instances of infidelity, including O'Neal's affair with Leslie Ann Stephenson in 1997, led to breakups, but they reconciled in 2001 following O'Neal's leukemia diagnosis. Family drama also played a significant role, with a notable fight between O'Neal and his son Griffin in 2007 adding to their challenges. Ryan O'Neal's daughter Tatum had many great things to say about Farrah Fawcett, but wasn't always happy with how her father treated her. O'Neal's substance abuse and erratic behavior not only impacted his career, but also his personal life, contributing to the relationship's instability. The turmoil within the family, particularly involving Tatum, was believed by O'Neal to have contributed to the stress that may have exacerbated Fawcett's cancer. Her illness was covered extensively by the media and with Ryan O'Neal by her side, and the media once again portrayed them as a power couple and portrayed Ryan O'Neal as a man who truly loved his wife. It was only after Farrah sadly succumbed to her illness that discussions about their relationship resurfaced. After Ryan O'Neal's death in December 2023, there are now more discussions about whether the relationship was as idyllic as it seemed. Ryan's relationship with Farrah wasn't the only troubled one he had. With Farrah, he had son Redmond. He also had 2 children from his previous marriages, Tatum and Griffin, with whom he had an especially strained relationship. He would sometimes blame his children for causing the stress in the household, which eventually led to Farrah's cancer. This became a scope of discussion for journalists throughout the years. Tatum suffered from drug abuse, and Ryan O'Neal has often been accused of introducing his children to drug use. Behind the scenes, it seemed there was no peace, and this affected Farrah Fawcett's well-being. It's been confirmed that the relationship between Farrah and Ryan wasn't as wonderful as it seemed. This is perhaps why she kept in touch with Greg Lott, even when she was in a relationship with Ryan O'Neal. Perhaps Lott and Fawcett were the true power couple that never came together as they should have. Farrah once caught Ryan cheating on her with a young actress. This deeply hurt her naturally, yet she never completely left him. There was speculation that she always loved him, and she chose to have him by her side while she was battling her illness. But there was also speculation that she felt controlled by him and couldn't leave him. In one court case, Ryan O'Neal had to confess to his adultery. He confessed he had an affair with actress Ann Stephenson on the film The General's Daughter. She was 25 at the time. Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett were both in their 50s when he had the affair.
A long-time love, Farrah Fawcett, who so sadly died, and you were there right through the end. You've been together 30 years on and off, up and down. Even as you were looking there, I could tell it's incredibly painful for you.
Can't look at it. Can't look at it. What bothers me the most is that there was turmoil during my love affair with Farrah. A lot of it caused by my family, by my kids. All of them, but particularly Tatum. And I just think that if she had never met us, would she still be alive today?
Let's end by looking back at Farrah's fantastic life and career. Beyond her acting prowess, she was a gifted artist. She studied art at the University of Texas at Austin and continued to pursue her passion throughout her life. Fawcett's artwork encompassed a variety of mediums, including painting and sculpture, and her talent was recognized and celebrated by art enthusiasts around the world. Her iconic hairstyle. Fawcett's signature hairstyle, characterized by voluminous waves and feathered layers, became a cultural phenomenon in the 1970s. Her iconic look, often referred to as the Farrah Flip, inspired countless imitations and cemented her status as a style icon of the era. Broadway debut. In 1983, Farrah Fawcett made her Broadway debut in the play Extremities, portraying a woman who turns the table on her would-be rapist. Her performance garnered rave reviews, showcasing her ability to command the stage with power and intensity. Documentary. In 2009, Fawcett allowed cameras to document her battle with cancer in a deeply personal documentary called Farrah's Story. The film provided an intimate look at her journey through treatment and served as a testament to her strength and resilience in the face of adversity. Philanthropic work. Throughout her life, Farrah Fawcett was dedicated to charitable causes, including cancer research and advocacy. She donated proceeds from her artwork to support cancer research initiatives and used her platform to raise awareness about the disease. Hollywood Walk of Fame. In recognition of her contributions to the entertainment industry, Farrah Fawcett was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1995. The star, located at 7057 Hollywood Boulevard, serves as a lasting tribute to her legacy as an actress and as a cultural icon. Farrah died June 25, 2009, at age 62 from cancer. It's been 15 years since her death, but her legacy will always live on. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you a fan of Farrah Fawcett? What's your favorite of her many roles? And did you know about the rumors of her relationship with Ryan O'Neal? Does it change the way that you view their relationship? Let us know in the comments section below.